Yeah, y'all doing good? Listen, today we're talking about Chicago politics, social issues, and how we all got to this place. The story has hit the nation with this Carlishia Hood and her son, who took out a young man in his 30s by the name of Jeremy Brown. Jeremy Brown is my son's age, and so these are young people doing what they do when they're faced with choices to make. So I want to talk about this today because there's some things that some of you probably don't see, that you haven't really paid attention to. History is so important. They said if you don't really study history, you're doomed to repeat it. And what we're seeing here in these urban towns, at least the urban areas of these cities, is a repeat. And it is a response to what is not there, and it is a response to what is there, and the non-response from we who gave birth to these people. You're like, what are you talking about? Give me about 60. Bass.
It's the show that will get you thinking, and where the topics are hot. Feel free to comment whether we agree or not, 'cause he's got something to say.
Sirwalterj Jones. Sirwalterj Jones.
He's got something to say. Sirwalterj Jones.
Sirwalterj Jones.
Report live 7 days a week, always on time, but his time is not free. Sirwalterj Jones, always on fleek. Latest trending topics, had you jumping out your seat.
He's got something to say.
Come on in. The water's fine. Woo, that water is fine. Everybody, Sirwalterj Jones Show. I'm he, and it is the midweek edition, baby. Hello, everybody, Sirwalterj. The water still is fine, no matter what we talk about today and this week and this month and this year. The water is always fine because we try to keep a cool, calm, collected mindset. Today is a tragedy, and we're glad that, the outcome was that this woman did not get charged with murder. She escaped it about that much. She is blessed that our dear sister is the head of the prosecutor's department, Kim Fox, because I think possibly if it was someone else that had another hue, that she would still be in there facing murder charges. I received this from someone else. This is Dr. Thima's video. It's a reel. And I want you to listen very closely to what this woman says in this short. Okay?
You have to lean into the discomfort.
Lean into the discomfort.
Because it's going to feel unfamiliar. Hopefully this is okay to say.
You can say whatever you want.
Yes. If your idea of relaxing before you go to sleep is watching 3 episodes of Law and Order, I would encourage you to think about, why is trauma relaxing to me?
Oh.
That's what it is. I mean, it's harm, crime, violation, attacks, and that's what is going to soothe me into my bedtime.
So what is the answer that a lot of people give you when they do go into therapy about that connection?
It's that it's normal and familiar. Some of us grew up in high stress, so people mistake peace for boring. And it's like, to come home to yourself, you have to lean into the discomfort because it's going to feel unfamiliar.
That's deep. We need trauma to relax to. And I'm going to tie this in here because of what's happening in Chicago and some of the things that you don't realize. Come on, Sharon Ruff. Trauma is becoming familiar. And we all and our children have been desensitized to trauma. So when we turn on these Netflix and Disney, or even Disney, and Amazon Prime and whatever service you have, HBO, well, it's not HBO anymore. I think it's Max. It doesn't matter what you're watching. Trauma is the soup du jour. We become desensitized to it until what we did was we brought it into our world, where it becomes the response to something that we see or happens to us, whether it's in the street, whether it's in the home, whether it's in the church, whether it's in the court. It doesn't matter. Trauma is the way to cope. And a child comes up in a family and sees this trauma, and they then don't know how to interpret it. So they may interpret trauma or abuse as he loves me or she loves me. Now I'm going to segue this into today's story of Jeremy Brown and Carlishia Hood. Trauma. We see this a lot in our neighborhoods, but sometimes we don't recognize it because we have assimilated into the mindset of trauma. It's like a person who is a part of a cult. They're in a cult, but they don't know they're in a cult. Someone on the outside sees that they're in a cult and tries to warn them, but they don't see it. So someone who's middle class, who was maybe either born with a silver spoon and never seen poverty before, or was never poor, they may drive up and down some of the neighborhoods that we live in. They will be shocked to see some of the things. Others who come up in that will say, "Oh, this feels like home. It feels like home." The person who's never seen it before is shocked to see that you all are comfortable with poverty. So trauma is the same way. There's a lot of young people who are terrorizing our city today. I believe have been traumatized. Many of them are suffering mental illness. Many of them have post-traumatic stress disorders. Many of them are becoming a part of the adverse childhood experience. And it's bad. And until you really look at it with a naked eye, or more so with an experienced eye, or with a trained eye, until you look at it with those three scopes, you may not see it. So in walks the Jeremy Brown, who you see on the video is threatening this woman to keep saying something, and then he lashed out at her. Why did he do it? So I'm getting reports of someone is saying, and I don't know how much verified this is, but I did receive a message that says there is a lesson in everything. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then they trauma bond. That's it, Sharon Ruff. I'm glad you're here. Hang with me, Pastor. Hang with me. This daughter sees her mother being abused by a man. You know what's going to happen, right? 15, 20 years later, or maybe not that far, that girl's going to fall in love. Guess who she's going to be attracted to? So, Pastor's right. Trauma bond. Because I've seen mothers abuse their children in a horrible way, to whereas the Department of, was the DCFS, should have taken those kids away if they had known what was going on. But the children still grab a hold to the mother. They bond to the mother, even though the mother is physically abusing them. It's like Stockholm syndrome when you fall in love with your oppressor, but it's just something different. I've seen that in my neighborhoods, and it was shocking to me to see that. So I thought the children would repel against the beating, not the whippings that we got. I'm talking abuse, and I saw the children crying and screaming and screeching because mama is burning the kid with an iron and things like that. But then they try to take the mother away, and the child is crying, begging the police or whomever to not take my mother away. Now that's something that we need to study, and if the churches don't equip themselves with this, then you won't know what to do with why these young people acting the way they are, and why Mother Mayhem is acting the way she is too. Just because she's 80, 90 years old don't mean hasn't been traumatized either, and she's never really dealt with it. So I got this thing here. This text says there is a lesson in everything. I always say the wrong people in your life will destroy you. Now this someone is writing a text to me about what happened to Carlishia Hood's and Jeremy Brown situation. They said, did y'all know when Jeremy Brown was in the restaurant, he was with a girlfriend at that time? And did y'all know that she was encouraging him to hit Miss Hood? So not only was the showing off for everyone with their cameras out, but his own girlfriend was hyping him. And all of this led to his demise. See, a lot of us have people like this in your life right now. They'll encourage you to do everything that's going to destroy you. They don't really care about you. Truth is, they're laughing at you. Now, yes, this is 100% Jeremy's fault, this person is saying. He made his choice. However, just imagine he had a girl that cared enough to grab him and tell him, no, baby, let's just go. They're saying, don't do this. He might be still alive. He might be still here. Stop entertaining people who bring out the worst in you. And people who don't have nothing won't mind watching you lose everything, including your life. That's gripping. Very gripping. And again, I haven't really validated the truthfulness of that story there, but it still stands true because of the experiences that many of you have seen. All right, it is true. When we egg people on and the person lose their life, I have seen, physically seen abuse where a woman was egging her husband or boyfriend on, egging him on, and then bam! Not only does he get shot, she gets shot. Yeah, come on, Ruth Collins, women that love the bad boys. All right, so I didn't want to do this show on this topic until I got all of the facts. I didn't do it because I know how stories change overnight. And I knew when I saw that when I heard that gripping story that this woman text her son and say, grab the gun and shoot a man, when we all heard it, we all pictured a boy going home, going into the mama's dresser, grabbing the gun, and then going out into the street to hunt down a man. Mm-hmm. And then shooting a man dead. That's the story we built in our head. That's the story the prosecutors built in their heads as well. If this was not videotaped, this would be the story we all would have, unless the witnesses would have come forward. The witnesses would have come forward, but still there would have been, if there was no video, she would have still been in jail today. So you get the whole story, and then typically I would didn't go live on something that I've waited a few days, okay, because it is like the Mandela effect, where people were saying they were there, but yet they were saying conflicting stories and making up all of these things. And that kind of Mandela effect typically happens when you have stories like this. Because prior to the video being shown, people were saying that the boy went and got the gun and shot the man in the store. The man ran down the street and the boy chased him down and shot him, kept shooting at him until he shot him dead. I mean, I was hearing all kinds of stories. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going live. Nope, I'm not going live until I know for sure what happened. So you wait for the facts. African Americans have proven to the world that we can be a very violent people. We can be a very extremely violent people. Why? For all the reasons I said at the beginning of the show. A lot of it's a cycle. related, okay? And the stress, and we can't blame the white man for everything. I know we blame a lot of stuff on systematic racism. I know we do. But we cannot blame everything on the white man for the actions of ourselves. And the civil rights leaders have really coddled us. Is it codify, or they coddled us? Made us weaker and weaker, to whereas you can't even rebuke a child without getting in trouble. It got to the point where you could not spank your child without the police coming and taking the child away or putting you in jail. Your civil rights leaders did that. A part of a certain political party. Y'all know I'm not left or right. I'm right in the middle. But because you all have allowed this to happen, then this next generation that you're raising right now is so confused. They don't even know what love looks like. So we're a violent people. I know we are because I have the marks to prove it. I was stabbed right here in my wonderful, beautiful metropolis city. I was stabbed severely. Chest, stab wounds, stabs in the back, left for dead. I know what violence feels like. I know what a knife in your flesh feels like. Do you understand? We are extremely violent people, and we're violent for sometimes no reason at all, except that somebody stepped on your toe. So there was an attempted murder on my life because somebody was upset that we had a car accident. And they tried to murder me. I know what violence is, so I can talk about this kind of stuff. So let's look at the timeline of what was going on. All right. Here is a map. Okay. Let's go to 115th and around Halstead. Okay. Now this is my old neighborhood, so I know this neighborhood quite well. Here's where I used to live in 1985. Right over here. Okay. My home was here on 116th Street. Okay. This is where I lived in 1985. Somewhere right over here. I think my house is right here. All right. My house is right over here somewhere. Okay. So I know this area quite well. And I used to shop, I used to eat, and I used to gas up right where it happened. So it happened here on Maxwell Street on 117th and Halstead. Is basically it's really, yes, it's 117th. All right, let's go there. Okay, this is where it happened, right here. All right, Maxwell Street is well known. We used to call them Jewtown Polishes. Okay, Jewtown Polishes, but that's what the Maxwell Street name comes from. Maxwell Street is if you type that in on YouTube or Google, you will see the history of Maxwell Street, and we call it Jewtown. All right, but then they began to spread out these Vienna hot dogs, and Vienna hot dogs are quite famous. But anyway, this is where the car was parked right here, and her son was in the car, and she went into that door right there. Okay, so with that, then what we do is we go to YouTube. Let's see. And let's see if we can pull up the timeline here. All right. Right here.
Are charges in one of the deadly new at 11 now. There are charges in one of the deadly shootings from the holiday weekend. 35-year-old Carlishia Hood and a 14-year-old boy are charged with first-degree murder. This comes after police released this surveillance video that captured the incident on Sunday night on South Halstead near 116th Street. A 32-year-old man was killed.
Watch breaking news.
Okay. That's where it began, and when we heard that, we were shocked, and we were like, oh my God. And all over the country, people started to chime in and say, this is ridiculous. Chicago is a war zone. And then the next day, we've got
Topping our
this
news
particular
here.
news here.
Topping our news here at 6 o'clock, just days after a mother was charged with texting her 14-year-old son to shoot a man at a fast food restaurant, Cook County prosecutors have now suddenly dismissed the first-degree murder charges against her. NBC5's Charlie Wojciechowski takes a look at new video that brought today's reversal in this case.
A fatal shooting at this West Pullman hot dog stand, now seen two ways.
Hey, get your food!
New video surfacing online this weekend showing what appears to be an attack on Carlishia Hood, an attack that is only stopped when her 14-year-old son opens fire. We are freezing the video at that point.
Let me just say everything that happened in this situation was terrible.
Former mayoral candidate Jamal Green was one of the first to share the video.
When this situation first uncovered, the media covered it as the mother directed her son to kill someone, in which everyone around the city of Chicago was like, oh my God, why would that mother do something like this?
This was the first video released by police as they were looking for two suspects in a fatal shooting here at 116th and Halstead. But Green says the second video tells a different story.
Folks all over the country said that this is a case of self-defense.
But the videos have created controversy about exactly what happened here and who was responsible. Today, Cook County's state's attorney cited new evidence in announcing the first-degree murder and contributing to the delinquency of a child charges against Hood would be dropped. Based upon the facts, evidence, and the law, we are unable to meet our burden of proof in the prosecution of these cases, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox said in a statement. A decision welcomed by patrons at Maxwell's.
Justice has been served.
It was that second video and the fact that it was shared on social media that Green says made the difference.
This wouldn't have happened without social media.
In the West Pullman neighborhood, Charlie Wojciechowski, NBC5 News.
Okay, he's right. This would not have happened without social media. We would not have been able to really see. Now, it's a gripping story, and it causes people to come to a place of pause and mixed emotions, because what would you do in that case if you was the 14-year-old boy, or if you was the mother, or if you were one of the patrons behind? We know that typical patrons or the public won't typically break up a fight. Not in Chicago. You ain't breaking up a fight. No, you're not doing it. You pull out your phone and you sit there and watch a woman get beat and pulverized. That is the Chicago way. Unlike when I was coming up, that's just the way it is. They don't get involved because of fear, afraid of the man, obviously, and possibly who the man is with, and then they're afraid of retaliation. So in Chicago, we have what's called a snitch law, all right? Non-snitch. We do not snitch in Chicago because we're afraid of property damage and body damage, or our children are harm's way. So this is why 80% of crimes are not solved by the police in Chicago, because we are the problem. We see the shooting, but we can't say that this little boy shot that little boy right there. We won't say it because we're afraid. All right. So this is the problem. It's a no snitch policy. So that man would have been beating that woman until somebody had finally called the police to get there. So the 14-year-old, after seeing the text, got out of the car. Now the gun, obviously, I guess, was in the car, and she said, "Grab my weapon." In Chicago, you do have a right to conceal and carry in Chicago. All right. Now she had her 14-year-old to get the gun. Here's where I'm tossed. And now what do? A 14-year-old is standing there seeing his mother beat. Now you've got to think like a psychologist and not like a politician. Hear me closely. A lot of bad decisions are made by police and by politicians because they are not trained on certain things that do happen. To de-escalate things, they haven't been trained. Like a doctor spends this much time on holistic medicinal. I mean, eat your greens. All right, they're trained on medicine or pharmaceutical stuff, but they're not really trained on holistic stuff. You got to go somewhere else for that. The police is not trained to just sit there and talk to de-escalate. They're trained to shoot that weapon, and if they pull that weapon out, they're trained to shoot to kill. I've talked to too many police in Chicago, and I'm telling you what I know. So when you see stuff like this, a politician will say the boy is in the wrong, or the mother's in the wrong, put him in jail forever. We don't know how to assign the right people to the right situation. When a fire happens in my house, I don't call the police. I call the fire department. I don't call a lawyer. I don't call the United States Postal Service. I call the fire department. You understand? So when we get someone who's an economist, look at this thing, they're going to say, see, that boy didn't have no father. No, the economist is the wrong guy to see what's going on. We need a psychologist. We need a counselor. All right, we need someone who's in a crisis counselor, what have you, to see that young man. He's a 14-year-old who probably, I don't know if he's ever even held that gun. We don't know if he ever even shot that gun. He obviously was not trained, at least obvious. We don't know. He probably was not trained to shoot. All right. So what he did was he put everybody in that restaurant in danger, including his mother. All right. Still, this is a job for the psychologist to see what happened, not a job for the police to go in there and start shooting up folks. OK, so he needed someone who could understand what he was in. His mindset cognitively was not mature enough to assess the situation. All right. So you put a 14-year-old, give a 14-year-old a gun, he's going to shoot. And once he pulls that trigger, he's going to keep pulling it because he hasn't been trained, mentally trained as well as trained on weaponry. Okay. How do we know? Because even policemen, when they're faced with certain things on the streets, they too, once the adrenaline goes high and they got a weapon in their hand, we saw that the young man in Chicago was shot 16 times here in Chicago. Why was that man pulling that weapon like that 16 times? That's psychological. It's got to be. You understand? So when a certain demographics of people see that a black boy got a gun in his hand and he's shooting, you would look at that and come to a conclusion. See, here's another thug killing a black man. You have to assess the whole thing, and this is why we are so in such a disarray in our society, because we're putting the wrong people in charge of what's going on in our society and in our neighborhoods. All right. So a 14-year-old should not have had the gun, but the 14-year-old, if you're on the other side, was trying to protect his mother. He had never seen possibly his mother being abused like that from a strange man. He acted the way you might have acted, I might have acted at 14. Heck, 25. Do you understand what I'm saying? Number two, we don't know what happened before the video started to record. All we see is the man already barraging, already being upset and telling her, say one more thing. We don't know what happened. Was it provoked? Well, even if it was provoked, there was no reason for a man to attack a woman who had no weapon. Her only weapon to him was her mouth. So there was a woman on Facebook who got buried in a horrible way because she responded and she was talking about how Carlishia should have shut her mouth. Mm-hmm. See right here, y'all see if y'all can assess this situation and find out who she's talking to.
Hey, family and friends, listen, it is this video that's out here that is going viral right now. It is about a 14-year-old boy that actually called himself defending his mom, coming to her rescue, and he actually shot and killed a boy who was actually hitting his mom actually in the face. And so when you look at this video, you see that there's an altercation. You see the woman came to a restaurant, her son was left in the car. She's having an altercation with this guy in there. You could tell he's very violent. You could tell he's very angry. You can tell that he cannot exercise self-control, that he's about to let it all go. So he's begging this woman to be quiet. He's begging this woman not to say anything else to him. He's saying, "Oh, my grandma woman," he's begging her, "Can you please just get your food? If you say something, I'm gonna do." He asked her several times. Now I know some of y'all may be saying, "Well, listen, she don't have to take to his threats." The Bible says, "Be slow to get angry, be slow to speak, and be quick to listen." The Bible says, "Be angry, but sin not." The Bible even teaches us that we are not to provoke our own children to wrath, lest known somebody else. This is the thing. If the gun was not available, if the son wasn't there, if this woman was by herself, would that situation have been different? I can guarantee you all that if the situation had no gun involved, no child involved, that woman would have walked away. She would have chosen to keep her mouth closed, or she would have walked away and got in that car. She probably would have made a couple phone calls, but she would have got up out of there. The whole point to this situation is we always waiting for somebody to do something. We got this pride, and there was pride at work on all sides. We got this pride, and we're waiting for somebody to try us. When we got these guns on us, we're just like Cedric the Entertainer. I wish they would. I'm waiting. Stop wishing. We gotta stop wishing that evil would try us. We gotta stop wishing that these things will come up again. We gotta stop wishing and begging to be attacked. We gotta stop wishing. Instead, we gotta start praying. We gotta start praying that we don't have to be under attack. We gotta start praying that if we are under attack, that we can avoid it.
Okay. All right. Now, they bashed her heavy, and I see why. Now we have to assess what this woman is saying. So let me be as fair as possible. What she's saying is correct to a Christian audience. We don't know the spiritual stand of Carlishia or Jeremy or whoever. Okay, Jeremy didn't act spiritual. And we don't see what happened again before the video started to record. This woman is actually correct if she's talking to a Christian audience. Be careful what you say, or you could provoke someone to anger. But she kept pointing her attention towards Carlishia for most of this video, and that's why they went after her. She kind of brought up Jeremy Brown. Then she went back to the woman. So maybe this woman here was trying to protect the women, and maybe she was just speaking to women. She was being topical like sometimes I am. And she was talking to the women, just don't say nothing, or it will cause. I get it. Maybe she was unfairly bashed. But here's the problem. To be a content creator like myself and try and talk about one story at a time, one topic at a time, one group at a time, is a very hard thing to do when you got people in the comments section who's very and extremely emotional. Because I'm seeing even in the comment section right now how people are assessing the 14-year-old. We don't know if he was trained to shoot that weapon. He had a good shot. Everybody left that restaurant, and there he was. He had a good shot. It didn't take a trained Marxist, if that's the word, to shoot a target that close. All right. So we don't know if he was trained. We do know that the young man they said that he was an straight A student, which is statistically not typical for a straight A student that's an African-American young man that age who he has no record, nothing with the police. Marksman, thank you, Janae. It's just not typical statistically. that a young man would just want to just shoot someone like that. That's in a what kind of program he's in? A baccalaureate program? I don't know. Okay. So let's talk about this woman here. Her name is Trigger Preacher. Here's why I have to side with her, depending on the audience I'm talking to. You all told me that I should, now depending on who you are, when a black man is pulled over by the police and the police tells him to come get out of the car, turn around, all right, to detain him because maybe they have probable cause, and the black man decides to resist arrest, and he's struggling. And then the white man or whoever it is, a cop, that's what typically is a white guy, he pulls out his weapon and then he shoots this black man. Every civil rights leader in the country is coming to town. And not one of them is going to focus on, bruh, why didn't you just lift your hands and surrender to the police and fight it in the courts? No civil rights leader ever do that. They don't. Only a remnant of us will say, and I tell my sons and my daughters, when you out driving while you're black and then the police put them two cherries on, you pull over. When you raise down the window, you keep one hand on the steering wheel and matter of fact, before they get to the car, pull out all your stuff. Don't wait till they get to the car. Have your stuff in your hand. Here, officer, here's my license. If he tell you to get out the car, get your butt out the car. Why? He gonna win. You will always lose. I want you to come home in one piece. Those people out there want to get you shot. You cannot go with the in crowd. Those mobs out there, those civil rights leaders and that whole party, they're going to tell you, fight back. You going to lose every time. I want my babies to come home in one piece. So I'm almost 60 years old, and I too do this. Yes, sir. No, sir. Here's my license. You want me to get out? Whatever you need me to do. And I'm going to guaranteed I'm going back home with my life and just a ticket in my hand. I'm using this example because of this woman here. You all got upset with her because she told y'all, don't say nothing and you won't get abused. But then you told your son, don't say nothing, do not resist. Give the police whatever they need. Get out, let them handcuff you, whatever, and then they'll call downtown, see if your record's cleared, and they'll let you go. If you didn't do anything, they'll let you go. You come home safe to me. The same people were upset with her for saying, shh. This is why our neighborhoods is jacked up. And it's not just the community that's the fault. You churches are just as bad. You all are bipolar. You're sending a confusing message. Now, let me go back to play the devil's advocate. We don't know what Carlishia Hood had said to the man. We only got the video that we have. We have no idea. So that is not even my argument. My argument is how y'all are going after Trigger Preacher for saying something and then telling your child, don't resist. You don't resist. Okay? So let me show y'all something in history, because I always try and set you all up, because history is where you got to look to see what is precedence, to see how you can assess a situation like this as it pertains to what's happening in the African American community. So much violence is going on. All right. Remember back in Atlanta, 1979, 1980, 1981. And I'm gonna talk about Atlanta because of the response when a black woman is abused, when a child is shot in Chicago. The news would hype up the murders and all the things, what have you, what have you. But let me tell y'all a secret. I'm gonna tell y'all a secret in a minute. Right here. Maybe you all don't remember this, but I remember it like it was yesterday. This is 1981, actually. Okay? I don't own this, so I might get a strike, but it don't matter to me anymore. Right here.
In Atlanta, it's called Police Zone 5. Mostly poor, mostly black, and an area rarely seen by the casual outsider. An area where in the past 20 months, 21 black children have been reported missing. 19 of them have been found dead. City and police officials are stymied, and they admit they can do little to stop the killings. The problems are not made easier by the fact that many of the victims were children who spent much of their time unsupervised and on the streets.
This type person or child would be more apt to get in a car with someone or be lured off by someone than a more timid child would. So these are the type of people we're dealing with. All of them are basically the same.
The poor neighborhoods in Atlanta have names like Mechanicsville and Reynoldstown and East Lake Meadows. The people here don't get any answers from the city. They are frightened and they are angry.
The people who know the people in the city are not being used on the task force. And until that's rectified, then they cannot possibly run the best investigation they can run. The FBI men are probably wonderful, great people, probably write their mother twice a week, but they don't know beans about Atlanta.
Why has it taken so long to bring these killings to an end? What is the effect on the city and on its people? These black children, missing and murdered, are the agony of Atlanta.
Y'all remember that? I remember like it was yesterday. It freaked me out, even in Chicago, because, you know, if you lived in the North, you had relatives in the South. Well, Atlanta, you know, sometimes Atlanta is the South, sometimes it's not, depending on who you're talking to. And all those boys got murdered, and to the point where my parents were telling us, don't go out on the street. Make sure you stay in the neighborhood, you know, come home, the whole coming home before the street lights come on. All those things was happening. Ruff, you don't remember that? Wow, I'm shocked. you typically tapped in. And what happened was they arrested Wayne Williams, and well, they didn't arrest Wayne Williams for the killings of these 20-odd boys. It was 20-something boys. He was arrested for killing 2 adults. And so still to this day, there's a stigma on his life that they believe some of the parents are saying he didn't do it. They don't believe he did. And some of them are even in contact with him in the jails. They became pen pals because they didn't believe that he. And then some of the relatives of the boys who were murdered went to jail, and they're now in jail with Wayne Williams. And he says, I come in contact with many of the relatives of these boys who got murdered. He says, none of them think that I did the murder. That's why I'm in general population. They don't even protect him. He's in general population because they didn't believe that he did it. So, which means that these murders are still unsolved. Still unsolved. All right. Now, he talks about Chicago here. You know, we've been having this problem a long time, y'all.
Mass murder is not a new phenomenon. 33 young men were murdered by one man in Chicago a few years ago. 26 were killed in a Texas crime, 25 in California. New York's Son of Sam was convicted of taking 6 lives before he was caught. Where the population is in the millions, it is easy for murderers to remain anonymous and to disappear without trace.
Now, I'm bringing this up because when you really look at the whole story, nobody in bureaucracy, in politics, up at the head, cared about those black boys. The police was divided around this time. The city was ran by black people. There was a black mayor. I remember that black mayor. What was his name? Light skinned. I think he had white, had black. What's his name? And he had all this money on the table. It was $100,000 that he put on the table, just one big show. I was a young boy then, and I was peed off by that. All right. And he had all his money on the table saying this is a reward for anybody of the capture of those who were killing these boys. And those murders went on for, 2-3 years. Not Andrew Young, no. Really light-skinned, he was heavy. Was it Maynard Jackson, April? I think that was him, Maynard Jackson. The black police, the police chief or superintendent, whatever y'all call him, he was black. And Andrew Young was not. It was Jackson, yeah. Andrew Young was silent for almost 9 months into this thing and then finally said something. The black civil rights leaders were silent and then finally said something. Months. Is it Ferguson or Jackson? What's his name? Said nothing. These murders woke up America on how black people and being murdered are treated and the response. I mean, Atlanta was so messed up at this time that those black boys and the murders showed us ourselves more so than what we keep blaming racism on. It showed us ourselves to the point where you all were voting in black politicians, all right, in Atlanta, and they were doing nothing to solve these crimes. So the neighborhood had to come together, both black and white. I saw the documentary, y'all. And they had to go into the forest, into the trees, into the woods to try and solve these crimes. Neighbors, citizens were out there digging, looking for clues and looking for children because the police and the politicians wasn't doing it. Until finally they came up with a task force, all right, and it was cheesy. Yeah, that's him, Maynard Jackson, not Ferguson. Maynard Ferguson is a jazz trumpet player or a flugel player. That's him, Maynard Jackson. That's him right there. Okay, I mean it was a circus. It was a circus. So I'm playing this because Carlishia's hood situation could have went different if there was no video for her and that 14-year-old boy. These boys were looked to as being poor because here's the thing, not one middle-class family lost a boy during that time. Not one. These were all poor boys who were on the street. They were latchkey kids from single mothers, and they were easy targets. You drove up and say, get in the car, and the police, to the point where they were doing controversial things. The Atlanta police was using boys as decoys. They would have the boys stand on the corner, and they would sit in the car and watch to see if they're going to get snatched. That's what Atlanta was doing in 1979 and 1980. That's how jacked up it was. It was so bad. So here in Chicago, fast forward 40 years later, and here's what you see right here.
Few instances even climbing up on startled. We're following this here at 4:30. Another teen takeover last night, this time in Bronzeville.
Hundreds of teenagers converged at a gas station at 31st and Michigan, looting the store and breaking windows. WGN's Julian Cruz joins us now with more. Julian?
Well, Ben and Lourdes, fortunately, nobody killed or seriously injured in the rampage, which happened about 9:30 last night, with hundreds of teens and young people creating what local residents describe as mischief and mayhem.
That was really horrible. They had ransacked the store.
Vanessa Boyd and other Bronzeville residents describing the tumultuous scene last night at 31st and Michigan.
There was a whole bunch of kids out here, and they was all in the gas station. They were causing a mess.
I know as teenagers we made mistakes, but we have never done anything like this.
Hundreds of young people, according to witnesses, migrating from a lakefront gathering to 31st and Michigan.
Throwing trash everywhere.
The crowd blocking traffic and in a few instances even climbing up on startled motorists' hoods before windows were broken out at this nearby BP gas station. These photographs showing the aftermath of what witnesses say was dangerous looting and destruction. Chicago police called to disperse the crowd.
It was about 150 police people walking on bikes, detective cars. There was a bunch of them.
Local residents in a state of shock, wondering how and why this happened.
I've been here 22 years now. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I ain't never seen it like this.
I always sit back and wonder, what are the parents doing?
It needs to be in each community.
Sabrina Worthy Dennis says it'll take a team effort, parents and community leaders and others providing more
evictions. Okay. Parents and community leaders and parents. If there are 200 kids out there, there's at least, or max, 200 parents out there. I know when you talk to a conservative opposed to a liberal, you're going to get two different views. A conservative man is going to say, where's the father? And he's right. Malcolm X once said, I don't care who you are. If you're right, I agree. I'm paraphrasing. I'm with him there. I don't care who you are. If you're right, I agree with your statement. Since this thing with Carlishia Hood came out, we never heard anything about the father of that 14-year-old boy. Not one thing. No one. Not even on social media. I've seen nothing about the father. No hint. No whisper. No whim or nothing audible. Nothing. Nothing. So is that what we're seeing out there on that street in Bronzeville? Fatherless children. Possibly. To the point that Barack Obama, prior to him running for the presidency of the United States, was extremely conservative. Barack Obama talked like a Republican because he mentioned fatherlessness. To the point where Jesse Jackson got upset with him because he was talking about black people. I got the receipts. Do y'all remember the hot mic moment of Jesse Jackson? Because Barack Obama was talking too conservative? Let me show it to you so y'all know, don't think I'm lying.
Well, the Reverend made those remarks there during a break. He was being interviewed on the Fox News channel. Jackson says he didn't realize his microphone was still on. Today, he was in full damage control, apologizing for what he calls trash talk.
trash talk, nothing but garbage, and that's why I want you to be careful about trash talk, because what's private sometimes becomes public, and something we use words we shouldn't use and language we shouldn't use, and then when it becomes public, it becomes embarrassing. Because we fall down sometimes, we get back up again, because the ground is no place for a champion, and I am a champion of this cause to make the world better and make our nation more secure.
So, Jesse Jackson is a perfect example of my earlier comments that civil rights leaders have coddled, have allowed, or have turned the cheek and turned the eyes. Let them be children. Leave them alone. That police shot him. See, he shouldn't have shot him. Okay. So when Barack Obama says, where are the black families? We need black families in the homes. He, on the hot mic, said, how dare he? But this is what he really meant, though. Come close. Your mama always told you not to act a fool in front of white folks. This is something that y'all didn't see. I saw it. Jesse was on Fox News with the other brother, listening to another brother talk about the irresponsibility of black folks because the fathers are out of the home. You don't act a fool in front of white folks. We got to come together. That's what Jesse was upset about. So we are perpetuating the problems that we're seeing today. Gotten to the place where it's too late now. So for the first time, we're seeing a mob of children terrorizing the city. We have never seen that before. In my generation, never. It wasn't until we started having these babies we started seeing the terrorizing of these children. Now, let's get back to Carlishia Hood, right? Because I'm making a few points here to tell y'all that that's why my opening was important. If you missed the opening, you won't understand why I seem like I'm going back and forth. I'm going back and forth because you have to look at the history of why and how do we get to a place where a man in public can just reach out and beat a black woman like that in front of everybody. Jeremy Brown needs to be examined now. Jeremy Brown needs to be examined. All right. Now, here, I'm gonna show y'all something that you did not know. And I'll shut it down. A white woman is safer to walk down in a black neighborhood than a black girl. Hear me, because I'm going to show you some proof. A white woman, I don't care what age she is safer in my neighborhood than my own daughter. And the younger the girl is, the more danger she is in. That young man hitting our Carlishia Hood is a result of what's been happening for about 20-something years in Chicago. Black women are attacked more than any other race in Chicago. I have known this for years, and I have been trying to find the statistics. I've been trying to find the data. I've been trying to figure out what is it, why is it that men beating their wives, beating their girlfriends, or beating some strange woman. Why is this going on so much? It's ever since, especially during the pandemic, but prior to the pandemic, I keep seeing these young men abuse their girlfriends to the point where they're killing parents over some girl that they're in love with and all this stuff, abusing them. And I could not understand. So there's got to be some statistics somewhere, and the Lord answered my prayer. Answered my prayer. It makes sense now why I kept seeing these white women in up and down our neighborhoods and nobody's touching them. If Carlishia Hood was white and she was being the Karen, Jeremy Brown would not have hit her. Probably would not have hit her. Nope. I'm talking to someone that I'm counseling right now who's telling me how abusive her man is to her. But he's not abusive to others. Men, he's not abusive. But to her, he's extremely angry and abusive. And he's the same way towards his mother. I said, yeah, I know why. So let me play portions of this documentary that I did see. The Lord answered my prayers. This is CBS Chicago. Erica said she was a victim of domestic violence. This is CBS Chicago. All right. It only got 62,000 views. You're like, that's a lot. No, that's not a lot. This needs to be heard. All right. Let me go to the beginning. Let me go here. Let me show y'all something very gripping that some of you did not know.
On platform, bleeding from his neck from a gunshot wound.
But what are your chances?
We're not just talking about 1 or 2 robberies here. We're talking dozens of them.
Who's really the most at risk? Is it white men, white women, Asians, Hispanics, black men? No, it's not. It's women who look like Tonia Thomas.
It's scary.
According to Chicago police crime data for 2022, when you look at all the offenses, count all the victims, black women are the most at risk.
It's not fair.
Unfair because that 67,000 means 25% of crime victims are black women. But they make up only 16% of Chicago's population. And when the CBS 2 investigators kept digging, we discovered even more disturbing data. Black women represented more than a third of kidnappings, 35% of assaults, 38% of batteries attacked and injured, 40% of rape victims. And let this sink in. Black women are 52% of human trafficking victims. Remember, they're only 16% of the population.
To have to navigate through life knowing that you'll potentially become a victim of a crime, primarily because of your race and your gender combined, it's not fair.
Thomas survived a rape.
This is all the paperwork from the hospital.
But she still feels the pain.
What happened to me, it won't go away.
It happened here, this West Side apartment building, at a friend's party.
I did have a couple of drinks, but nothing too crazy.
Pictures of a happy, smiling Thomas were taken just minutes before she felt dizzy and went to the bathroom. The police report details the horrors of the criminal sexual assault.
I remember being in the bathroom with the person who assaulted me, and I remember just trying to get out of the restroom. But I couldn't get out.
The car was parked actually right there on the corner, right before the stop.
Okay, I'm gonna fast forward this.
Photos of a trashed Kia found by Geneva Brown is a professor of criminology at DePaul University.
We just had an unfortunate officer, Preston, who was killed. She was on her way home at 1:40 in the morning, and she was a target of a robbery. Disproportionately, Black women are working third shift jobs. Black women are in communities where there is a lack of a middle class, a lack of a economic foundation that would deter this type of behavior.
Where they live, when they work, and listen to this, how they are perceived by criminals put a target on the backs of Black women.
You know that you're in a neighborhood where crime is the norm and not the exception. You're in a neighborhood where you know that the police are slow to respond. It creates that atmosphere where, unfortunately, you have people who feel empowered to become bolder or to continue to commit offenses until they're caught.
Why does it always have to be me? When do I get a break? When can I have some peace? I hear those words quite often. in the work that I do.
Gabrielle Molden Carwell works as a trauma therapist, helping Black women cope with their emotional pain.
It's disheartening and it causes self-doubt because something must be wrong with me.
She knows the trauma of sexual assault, not just because she treats survivors.
I've seen it in my mom.
She's lived with it.
I've seen it in my grandmother on my mom's side. I've seen it for myself.
And how old were you?
I was 12.
In the year 2000, when this photo of a carefree little girl posed for the camera, masking her torture.
It went on for about 6 months or so. I was angry. I was heartbroken.
It's very aggravating.
Rage keeps me up at night a lot.
How long have Black women been overrepresented? The CBS 2 investigators went searching for answers. We looked at every crime, every victim, not just 1 or 2 years, not 3 or 4. We went back 21 years. CBS 2 investigative data journalist Elliot Ramos crunched the numbers.
The stuff is buried in like statistical reports that come out every year.
But it's here, the latest, pages 79 to 81.
You got batteries, you got robberies.
Ramos combined the crime data
by day of week, by location type,
with race, sex, and age from police reports.
It was surprising at how consistently Black women in particular were over-indexed in relation to the population, like year after year after year.
The revelation, Black women have always suffered more than others. A surprising fact?
I was 16 when all of that was going on.
No one suffers more than young Black girls under 18. A perfect picture of a thriving high school junior at Little Village until she dated the wrong boyfriend.
I remember like him grabbing my arm and he swung on me and hit me. He was very violent. He was very mentally abusive. All of that was very traumatic.
From 2001 to 2022, for every white girl attacked and injured, there were 18 Black girls hurt.
I decided like I wanted to take some pills. I no longer was getting the A and B's that I wanted. So if my grades began to drop, I felt very burdened. And so I no longer wanted to feel burdened.
I feel like this is just as bad as the war on drugs, right? Like everything went shut down for that. But what about these crimes?
But for Black women disproportionately targeted by crime, there is no special task force, no mayoral commission.
We talk about big picture stuff, we talk about, hot topics, but Black female victimization is not a hot topic.
And Brown adds, no public outcry to address the core causes.
And I think that this is a conversation that needs to be had.
We've been counting CTA attacks, and this one marks 8 in the past 10 days.
As a Black woman walking into the world,
some of the 14 wounded are still in the hospital.
Every day and knowing there's this high probability that something's going to happen to me when I leave the house. And it's like, do you even leave home? But we have to. We can't, live a life where we're sheltered, but why should we have to?
Why should we have to? This is really, this is sad, but this is something that needs to be brought out. Rogers, I don't know if you're still there. There was a video you sent me of a woman talking about a man should be submissive to a woman. Can you inbox me that? All right. There's a whole lot of things that are stacked up against you ladies, and some of that has a lot to do with the implosion, and I keep talking about how the sisterhood is broken. When I did my show on about women and their enticing ways, people would look at that and interpret that as that I'm blaming victims. And that's why I started the show by saying you could never say anything to correct a Black woman, especially without getting slammed by people in the comment section. They're going to slam you for trying to protect the women. I have a daughter. I've adopted 2 daughters. I have 2 sisters. And you best believe sometimes I tussle at night when my daughter is not here. She's fully grown, almost 30 years old. But we live in this city where I know the crime rate and the attack against, young black girls. Thank you for sending that. Now let me see do I know how to even open it up. All right. But you all were talking about this is the Chicago problem. No, it's not just a Chicago problem. It is not. I hope it opens up. Come on. Open up. It's not just a Chicago problem. Let me open it up somewhere else. Hold on. Let me show y'all something here. All right. Save real. Okay. Saved. All right. Please act right. Of course it's not acting right. Hold on, y'all. I want to show y'all something right here. Here is some of the statistics that I was getting while I was on air. Black women it's saying here, over the past 2 decades, Chicago police says 35% of missing persons have been black women. Then it says this is not just a Chicago problem. In 2021, 28% of the nearly 257,000 individuals reported missing in the United States were black women, aged 20 or younger, per the National Crime Information Center database. Black women bear brunt of the crime in Chicago. So when I say, when I did my show on women last week, you all were telling me don't police women, leave them alone. You part of the problem. So now the women, the young ladies are confused. They don't even know their role in society. I'm not even talking about the LGBTQIA plus community in all of these spectrums. I'm not even talking about that. But you got someone like this. I don't know if it's going to play.
A woman should be the dominant and a man should be the submissive. That's what you're
because
talking.
y'all follow commands. You go do. You go do. And she gonna tell you what to do. Because here's the thing. If y'all don't have somebody telling y'all what to do, y'all are going to be reckless. And so women are divorcing y'all in these relationships because they are allowing you to quote unquote lead, and they're being submissive. And since y'all can't lead yourself, y'all leading her to the ground. So here's the thing. The natural order is for the feminine to be the leader. If you give to the feminine, right? The feminine is always going to regenerate life and everybody's going to be taken care of. Y'all are territorial. Y'all just want the image of leadership. You just want to be out in public. I'm the leader, but all of the responsibility is actually on the woman. The leader takes the majority of the responsibility. If women allow men, which means she submit, all right, and allow him to lead, she don't have no control over what he's going to do. She's steady submitting to him. Women have to change their minds and realize that they ain't supposed to submit to men because men just going to do what you allow them to do, because they don't have no governor on their own behavior to know when to not do something, to know better. They don't know. They just going to keep being reckless, and they're not going to take care.
A woman should be the dominant.
Okay. And that's where the video ended. She was serious. Yeah, Janae. Say, look how masculine she is. So the woman has taken on that role. Who did this, Future? Who did this to our sisters? Did we do this to ourselves? Who did this? This was the car. This was my car when I was living over there where that attack happened with Carlishia Hood. This was my baby. 1979 Ford Fiesta. I was driving this car when I heard about when I heard about the Atlanta killings. This was the car. Yeah, who did this? Who did it? So y'all, we are messed up, man. We are messed up. So we are going to have to police our own neighborhoods and our own families. I know Drayton said, no way she said all that with that straight. Yeah, we are going to have to police our own families. Listen, I said it once and I'll say it again. I'm not marching with you all. I'm not marching with y'all. No, I'm not doing it. I can't march with you all. Dr. K, what you got? What you got? If everything in the world is actually perverted, then this all makes sense. Yep, submission only applies if you adhere to biblical principles. And yes, that's it, Dr. K. You're right. If I say anything to speak up for myself, I'm an angry black woman, April. There you go. Our children have become homegrown terrorists, arrested by us. I mean, armed, that is, by us. The government told you not to discipline or corporate punish, your children, and we laid the Bible down and submitted. The chickens have come home to roost. Famously said by Barack Obama's pastor, and whom was going to be my pastor. Yeah, I remember sitting in that church with Jeremiah Wright, and Barack Obama was just a few seats from me. He was our senator at the time with a funny name. I was literally going to join that church. And to this day, I'm glad I did not. It had nothing to do with Barack Obama, and nothing to do with Fox News, and that sermon had nothing to do with any of that. It's something that I would have to talk about in another show. All right, so we have to police our own self. I'm not marching with you all. And the church fell in and assimilated with the Black Lives Matter, an organization that was started by whites. NAACP started by whites. Many of our historical black colleges started by whites. Y'all can't even sing a good hymn. Y'all say that Dr. Watts. I thought Dr. Watts was black, but you Baptists, Dr. Watts is white. We often think that we own everything. We started stuff. Y'all ain't started this. You don't even own the publications anymore. I mean, Ebony, Jet, BT, all these things that you used to own, you sold it. Motown Records, all this stuff was sold to the highest bidder. We can't hold on to nothing. And now y'all trying to, now Madeir trying to buy BET, and I don't even know if that's going to go down. And then y'all say, if Madeir buy it, y'all know who Madeir is, right? If Madeir buy BET, then she going to change the whole trajectory, bring Bobby Jones back, Sunday morning's gospel. Please, that kind of stuff don't make no money. Y'all need to stop playing with me. Y'all need to stop playing with me. Joe Jackson, he ain't bought it yet. I don't even know if he gonna do it. I don't even know. I don't know if that deal gonna go through. As of this week, I don't know if that deal gonna go through. All right. And if the deal do go through, then you think he gonna change it and make it more Christian oriented? Please. Last interview I saw Tyler Perry, he cussed like a sailor. Yeah, he cussed like a sailor. Yeah, I know Tresca. After that little Bobby Jones and BET award thing, I don't think he want to come back to that, especially. All right, so I'm not marching with you all. Black Lives Matter. Your mama's lives matter? Not me. My plan has always been my plan since 2020, when y'all remember when y'all was gathering around because your churches had closed down, y'all was wearing masks, you couldn't go to the building anymore, and you started turning on the Sirwalterj Jones show. You remember that? And I was telling y'all about the jab and the virus, the medicine, of what you call it, we was fighting. I was fighting with y'all, and y'all was fighting with me. And I said, I'm done. I'm not gonna never talk about it again. And I never talked about the jab anymore. Never did. I said, you do it, it's your choice. If you don't do it, it's your choice. It's between you and God. I never brought it up, the vaccine. I never brought it up since that time. Never. Didn't do it. But I focused on from 2020 to 2023 today on African American and generational wealth. Yeah. Yes, pain. I got that shot. Not just once, twice, 3 times a lady. And all of my insides are still operating. Really nice. Really nice. And I caught the COVID at least twice. I think I hit it. I hit it 3 times, but at least twice. Just wasn't as severe as the first time, which almost killed me. Oh, I got all kind of vaccine in me. Proud of it. Proud of it. Why? Because I didn't care about whatever y'all said. I didn't care about anybody's conspiracy theories because the medical industry was divided. The church was divided. Politics was already divided. It was so bad. I said, I'm not talking about it no more. Nope, not talking about it no more. And then y'all got caught up with the whole G5, what is it? 5G? Is that 5G? To the point where y'all was so scared. Y'all was making videos, black folks making videos and say, I saw some 5G towers in the backyard back there. They put them, and I already, it's in my chest. I'm coughing, and I think they turned them things on. Man, black folks, y'all something else. Y'all start coughing. They were making videos, and black folks was, I got a rash on my booty, and I think they turned the 5G, they turned the tower on. I was like, what is wrong with black Negroes? I tell you, now, when you turn your phone on, all you see is 5G. And these same folk are walking around, hey girl, how you doing? You coming over? Huh? What you wearing? What you wearing? All that 5G going in his brain. Same one talking about some, I see a tower in the back. Now all the phones got 5G. They're working on 6G tomorrow. Come on, Ruth Collins. Y2K, the church was talking about some, be careful, y'all. All the airplanes gonna fall out of the sky. All of the ships at sea is gonna sink. All the computers are gonna explode in your house. Get your computers out of the house, cause they're gonna explode. Folks was stocking up all kind of Campbell soup. Good. Good. That's what Campbell soups are. Good. My bologna has a first name. Folks. It says Libby on the label. You would like it on the table. It say Libby on the label. I am old, you all. All these grown folks are getting alphabet soups and stuff and stocking it up in their little she-shacks and stuff. Singing 1999. 1999. Cause y'all just know the world was ending. It was bad, y'all. It was bad. And I got on an airplane. I made sure I got on the airplane right at New Year's. And I said, take me up, take me high. And I leaned back and went to sleep 30,000 feet in the air. I said, listen, as long as I'm on this plane, ain't nothing gonna happen. The Holy Ghost on this plane. Y2K came and Y3K came. Y2, the prequel came. Y2, the sequel came. Nothing happened. And all them non-perishables that y'all had in the house, y'all took them to the church. We got to get rid of this stuff. We got to. It say Libby on the label. Y'all are, man, I tell you, boy, you black folks will listen to anything. This is why I better shut it down because I'm getting ready to go get on my soapbox. This is why y'all so easy. This is why the black church raised billions of dollars a year, but you own nothing. Nothing. You don't own nothing. Pain says time for you to eat. And if you keep talking about the white man this and the white man that, and you keep talking about systematic racism, you can do that until the cows come home. But let me tell you who don't talk about systematic racism in America. Who don't talk about it? And it don't affect them at all? Africans and people from Belize and the Bahamas and Jamaica and Tobago and Turks Island and all this stuff. When they come over here on the boat, they ain't worried about no systematic racism. And they'll be here for 1 year and double your salary. I'm in trouble. And double your salary. And you still worried about the white man ain't gonna give me no bank loan. Can I tell y'all a secret about bank loans? Huh? Somebody, what you sending me? Huh? Can I play this? Can I tell y'all something about bank loans? And that's too long. I can't play that one. It's too long. Proof that 5G is going to make us all sick. I can't play that. It's too long. All right. Can I tell you something about bank loans? Here's the secret. You all were running to the black banks for bank loans and still getting rejected. Because you thought, here's the thing. You stayed in the white bank for years and years. And then America had this revolution, what they call that? Like the Industrial Revolution happened. Y'all had this Harlem, what was it called? The Harlem Revolution, the Harlem something. And everybody was buying black this, black that. And in Chicago, there was 2 black banks left. It was only 2. And all these black people was, thank you, Diane, the Harlem Renaissance. And all these black people was taking their monies out of Chase, U.S. Bank, Bank of America. They was taking all their money by the millions out of these white banks and putting it into Seaway National and the bank over here in Bronzeville. 2 black banks, the last 2 black banks left. Guess what happened? Guess what happened? Seaway said, we got to close. Seaway closed the doors and changed over the management over to white folks. So the Seaway Bank up the street from me, I can throw a rock and break the windows out. It used to say Seaway, but it say Seaway, but yet it don't. We don't own it no more. It's gone. And all that money y'all transferred in there now back into the hands of white people. And then, so you went to the last black bank in Bronzeville and they turned you down. Here's the thing. You ready? And Bill Winston's bank closed years ago. Why? Black folks. Y'all are all talk, which is cheap, but it takes money to buy land. Black banks are in business for the same reason why white banks are in business. Can y'all tell me why black banks are in business? Can you please tell me why? Why they in business? I'm on my soapbox, y'all. I got like 2 minutes. I'm looking at my show is an hour and a half, y'all, today. I got 2 more minutes. Can y'all tell me why black banks are in business? So y'all were crying that the black bank, here's the thing, statistics says that more black people are turned down by a black bank. You're better off going to the white credit union than going to the black bank. You know why? The black bank can't survive off of your 300 FICO score. You aren't worthy financially, economically. They can't give you no loan or they will fold. So this whole rush on African American Renaissance happened over the past few years, and y'all was realizing that we don't own nothing. So you ran to the black banks, and the black banks was denying more loans than they were giving because they're in business to make money. It's about the bottom line. They don't care how beautifully black you are. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. No, what is your FICO score? What is do you have any land? Do you have a car? Do you have diamonds? What do you have for collateral? You ain't got nothing. We can't give you a loan. Y'all don't even know how the economy works. This is a capitalistic society. Do you understand? So what was happening? White folks were going up and down the black neighborhoods and buying up the property and making you believe the illusory perception that you own this stuff. White folks went into Bronzeville, started buying up the properties that you walked away from, but they kept it looking black. They kept the street name black. They kept the restaurant name black. They put black pictures on the walls and kept Martin Luther King Street as Martin Luther King and not, Uncle Mr. Charlie Street. All right. They kept all that up there. But we don't own much of nothing in that same community. I'm going to prove it to you. Man, can I do this? On my phone, I was in a building. Can I play it? I'm bold. Okay. Is this going to play? Okay. Right here. I'm going to show you a building I was in. This is a building. This is an apartment building. Okay, right here. Look at that. Satchmo. Look at all these black faces on the wall. I don't know. Is that Sarah Vaughan? Is that Duke Ellington? Okay. Look at Billie Holiday, Dizzy Gillespie. These are all of the black faces on the wall. Okay, y'all know who that is, right? Okay. Now, these are all of the faces on the walls in this apartment complex. I am in Bronzeville, you all. Beautiful steps. Beautiful neighborhood where it's 99% African Americans in this neighborhood. I think I'm gonna turn the camera around to show you the building. Look at that big, long, beautiful building. One problem though. Can y'all tell me what the problem is? Yep, Cab Calloway. Can y'all tell me what the problem is? That was Count Basie. There you go. Can y'all tell me? Somebody tell me. What was the problem? There's just one little problem. That was Count Basie. There you go. One little problem. Yeah. Diane got it. Johanna got it. We don't own it. A Jewish man owns it. You walk by it because it was just abandoned. You say, can't do nothing with that. Jewish man say, I'm going to do something with that. You like, well, the banks don't give me no loan. You know how many wealthy African Americans there are in Chicago? You know how many pastors of very large churches there are in Chicago? You know how many politicians, black, in Chicago? Huh? You know how many? White man won't give me a loan. So what the white man did is giving you the illusory perception that you own it. So when you walk in that building, everything is black. And the music is playing all jazz music. But when you go to the office to pay your rent, it's a white man saying, give it to me. And that's up and down Bronzeville. Not only in Bronzeville, but right up the street from where I live in Pullman. Pullman is where Carlishia Hood was attacked. Up and down Pullman. And that's West Pullman. Historic Pullman. It looks all black. But almost everything you see is owned by whites. U.S. Bank, Walmart, Potbelly. We've got a Culver's restaurant, which is franchised by a black man. Praise God. But it's franchised by a black man, which means he has restrictions. Oh man, I tell y'all, I really upset you all, don't I? So how is it that the church of God, which is in Christ, not the organization, could raise billions of dollars a year and don't even own the buildings that they have mortgaged? Well, they obviously didn't own it because they're mortgaging it. And many of those buildings, they don't even have much equity in them. Many of them. And they're out of all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of churches just in the city of Chicago, we got one black bank that won't even give you a loan. That says something. So miss me with all this marching. And in the city of Chicago, you talking about how you're losing power and systematic racism, all this stuff. Listen, we know that there's systematic racism, but try and look for it. Try and find it. It's hard for you to find it because the right got an answer for it. Brandon Johnson ran for the mayor's office. But guess how many black folks ran with him? Ran against him, that is. Huh? They give the illusory and the space for the black. Yep, BET does the same thing. White man bought it, put all this black programming on there, and y'all thought you owned it. Chicago was trying to vote in a mayor, and 15 black people are running for the same office. Splitting the vote, splitting the vote, splitting the vote, splitting the vote, splitting the vote. We have been divided for years. And the only time in history in my life that I saw black people not divided in Chicago, the only time is when Harold Washington was running for mayor in 1980, 81 or something like that. That was the first time we decided to choose one man to run. Jesse Jackson wasn't even running for the mayor's office. He too busy trying to run for president in 84 or somewhere around there. We picked one man. One man to represent all of us. He was a shoe-in because for the first time in Chicago history, we all came together, put one. No, don't be splitting votes. And since that time, because he didn't survive in office, he did a full term and then he got reelected and then he died. Since that time, we have been splitting the vote ever since, and we will always split the vote. We will never be a nation again. And let me tell y'all another secret as I shut this down, because my birthday is Saturday, and I don't know what I'm doing. Can I tell you another secret? Black Wall Street. We always talk about Tulsa as the Black Wall Street destroyed by white people. Guess what? That did happen. Let's go back to that. Black Wall Street was all over America. Right here in Chicago, in New York, in Memphis. Almost every major metropolis had some type of Black Wall Street. During Jim Crow. Hear me. I'm done talking about Carlishia Hood in her situation. That part is over. So don't be in the comment section. I thought the show was about. Listen, if you haven't heard me for an hour and 15 minutes talk about that, then you need to go watch Larry Reed. Hear me. Blacks did better during Jim Crow than they're doing now. With all of that against them, they work better under that type of pressure than they did when desegregation happened and the Civil Rights Bill. And we're worse now than we were during the time when the Ku Klux Klan was hanging y'all on trees as strange fruit. Ain't that about nothing? And guess what? Let's go back to Tulsa. Tulsa was burned down by these jealous whites. Guess what the people of Tulsa did? Many of them stayed and rebuilt Tulsa. Greenwood, is that Greenville or Greenwood? They rebuilt it. And it was better after the rebuild. And we have proof. And guess what? It wasn't called Black Wall Street until after the rebuilding. That's the history that you didn't know, and that is the misleading that you're hearing from certain political people. That Black Wall Street was rebuilt better than it was before, and it was called Wall Street after the Reconstruction. How do we know? Because when you look at the film from, what was the old man name? Not the Japruder film. That's Kennedy. What was his name? The black man who the only film we have. When you look at his film, the date on the film is 1925. If it says 1925, that is after, way after the burning. The burning happened like what, 1920, 21. Destroyed. Not Gates. And so then when you look at him, then you see people, you see an airplane flying over, and you see, these workers and these businessmen and what have you. That's after they rebuild. So what happened? Number one, you've been lied to. Number two, they were able to rebuild because they had a different mindset at the time. But they rebuild like the children of Israel built the temple. It got destroyed again. Why? Imploding. We did it to ourselves. And it happened all over the country because it happened in Bronzeville. Every time I drive up and down Bronzeville, a tear dropped down my eye. Because there is no reason why Bronzeville would be in a dilapidated state like this, being like black everything. You've been lied to. Lied to. So now there's a highway there because black people got pulled in by what's called urban renewal. Two things destroyed Wall Street in black communities: urban renewal and desegregation. That did it. What is that man's name? Gurley? No. We did that to ourselves, you all. We did it. We got lazy. Big business came to our town. And then Johnson Publishing came out with that show, that video called Selling to the Negro or something like that. Y'all remember that on YouTube? Yo, I got the receipts. I got all the receipts. how to sell to the Negro. All right, Roger, you put that in the comment section. And what did that do? White folks did not know that was so much money in the black communities, and they could not wait. Yep. Urban renewal. Yep. Destroyed black communities everywhere. You've been lied to. And you're still being lied to, and you don't even know it. So when you hear a black conservative on YouTube talk about that stuff, y'all get upset. They're telling the truth. The only part that they are fabricating is there is no racism. You see, to them, there is no racism because they have assimilated. And most of them are married to white women, and the black conservatives, women are married to white men. Man, I tell you. What is it called? Selling to the Negro or something like that. Yeah, The Secret of Selling to the Negro, 1954. This did it right here. I can't play it, obviously. I mean, I can't air it. But where'd it go? Yeah, I can't do the thing that I do. But oh man, this right here. When y'all get a chance, go check it out. Selling to the Negro. It says a lot. What happened to your community? I was watching something to the Negro on Sunday. It made me angry. See, Marlon, that's a good man right there. I need to find that man. I need to find him because it's bothering me because y'all not giving me the man's name. Y'all not giving me the man's name. What's his name? Let me go to YouTube because I need to know. I need to know now. I just heard it. Solomon. Thank you, Oscar. Thank you. Solomon. Sir Solomon, Sir Jones Solomon, something like that. Solomon Sir Jones. Oscar, you rescued me because it was bothering me. That's his footage. Can we find a picture of him? All right, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm taking up all y'all's time. I'm so sorry. Sir, what is it? Solomon Jones. Solomon Sir Jones. Yeah, this is him right here. That's him. This the man. And this is the footage you typically see of him. All right? And when you look at it, look, 1924 to 1928. Y'all see that? If they burned Black Wall Street down in 1921, his film is 1924 to 28. You've been lied to. You've been lied to. Talks about how blacks would rather spend a lot of money on the name before. Yeah. Buy a second. Yeah, absolutely. How was it that the Hispanic community money is just circling? They money circling the community like this. Asians money circling the community like several times, like all week long, just circling. They said black money come in and in 30 minutes, or no, I think they said 6 minutes is in and it's gone. Y'all assimilated. And you've been lied to because you're gullible. So I'm not marching with you all. Not doing it. Not going to be a Ponzi. I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. I'm not going to do it. So my generational wealth plan is to spend time with my children and show them how I made it. And then tell them tell them the stories of my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather and all of their great uncles, how they made it. How is it that these men they were born in poverty and all of them turn out to be landowners? My uncles and my father and my grandfather and great-grandfathers became landowners in the midst of Jim Crow. How was that possible? I never heard my father say, oh, this systematic racism is killing me. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how we're going to make it, blah, blah, blah. No, my father was code switching. He knew the language of the white man. He knew how to talk to him. He knew how to wheel and deal. And my father, sitting on a nice piece of land right now, wheeled it to his children. He wasn't all crying. I never heard him crying about the white man got me down. I just never heard my father cry like that. He didn't tell us go out there and march for this, march for that. No, he sat us down and told us how it's done. Erica, your father left you land? And that's how African Americans became middle class and upper class because of the equity and the real estate and land. They were able to afford college education because they had ownership and not complaining about what the white man got me down. I can't get a loan. No. Now you build and cast your buckets where you are, W.E.B. Du Bois. And said they put W.E.B. Du Bois next to next to Booker T. Washington to make them fight. They both had good plans. Unfortunately, W.E.B. Du Bois was more like a racist than anything. Not a racist, an atheist. He was an atheist, but he made some sense over here and there. Booker T. Washington, though, brilliant man in the midst of Jim Crow. That man established such a prestigious institute down there. Come on, y'all. You've been lied to. It is so sad our fellow black people don't know their worth, so they think they can attain it through purchasing from other communities. Y'all want reparations. So they're gonna give you, let's say $100,000 a piece. Guess what you're gonna do with that money? Take a wild guess. All right, I gotta go, y'all. I gotta go. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yeah. I'm ending my summer program in Moody Bible, and then I'm going into the fall semester. So pray for me as I can scratch my head and get through this work. All right, I get a few weeks off after next week. I get a few weeks off, and then we're going in the fall and select some more classes, and we can keep going until I just can't afford it no more. Right now, all this come out of my pocket. My birthday is Saturday, yes, and typically by now you all will be hearing some stuff about my birthday and events and flyers, stuff like that. No, I'm not into it right now, y'all. I'm not into it. I'm not into it. So I'll teach Sunday school come Saturday. Saturday is my birthday. I'll teach Sunday school as usual, but let's see what happens after that. I don't know. It's just an odd year. School got me down. Not down, got me up, but it got me down. Okay, a dollar circulates 6 hours in an African American community. Yep, I did say that, didn't I? Yeah. Compared to 20 days in a Jewish community and 30 days in an Asian community. Lord have mercy. Come to AIM and out. Woo, Marlon McDaniels. I just think I just may go to AIM. I've been talking to somebody saying that I'm gonna go to AIM, so I think I now need to go. All right, auxiliaries in ministry. Indianapolis, Indiana is our national convention next week. I typically go one day and then I go home. I turn around and go home. All right. So I'm going to see which day I'm going to go. Maybe on the 4th. I don't know. Oh, I said 6 minutes. Oh, 6 hours. I meant 6 hours. My bad. 6 hours. I think it's 6 minutes. I think it's 6 minutes. Okay, y'all. Take care of yourselves and one another. If I don't see you tomorrow, happy birthday. My grandfather bought land in upstate New York, left it to his 6 sons. I recently was told we lost all those acres because my uncle didn't want to be bothered with taxes and looking for Joan. Oh, Joan. It's so sad to hear. And I can't tell you how many times that has happened, thousands of times in America. Just didn't want to be bothered. Or the white man was smarter. You owe taxes, and he went down there to the assessor's office and bought taxes up under you. He owns it now. Man, all the horror stories my father would tell me about taxes. I see my father cry like a baby because he owed taxes and he needed to pay it off, or he was going to lose that generational wealth. He couldn't pass it down because them white folks were down there trying to buy up the taxes. I see him just cry. My first time seeing my father cry. He was crying for us because he needed something. Let me tell y'all, boy, it's tough. That's why I thank God for my father today. Thank God for him today. God, I thank you for your presence and your blessing. These people who are here, I pray for my dear sister, Carlishia Hood, and her son. I don't know what mindset that young man is going through right now, but I pray, oh God, that they get to know you. If they don't know you, I pray that they get to know you. Somebody down there will reach out and minister to that girl and that young man. I also pray for Jeremy Brown's family. I can't pray for him. He's gone. But the Brown family, whoever they are, I pray, oh God, that they are comforted as well and that they get to know you. If they don't, I pray that they get to know you in all of this. This is a lesson learned from all of us. That righteousness is the soup of the day. Righteousness exalts the nation. Sin is a reproach against any people. Righteousness is the policy of the day. And until we know and understand what righteousness is and allow it to set up in our hearts and be right with God, whatever happens to us on these streets, God has warned us through his Spirit and through his Son. Righteousness. So God, I pray that righteousness hit that Hood family and that Brown family so that they can learn from this and they can spread the gospel because of it tonight. These people here, I pray for them that they wake up not as this whole woke movement, but that they wake up in the Lord, search the scriptures, watch the Smart Christian channel, and get educated on the Word of God so they too can be equipped to teach their children as well. We love you, oh God. We give your name the praise in Jesus' name. Thank God. Amen. All right, y'all, I gotta go and eat something. Becca ain't making nothing, but I'm gonna go up here and fry me something in the fryer and get back to some schoolwork. Burn the midnight. Y'all been to school. Y'all understand burning that midnight oil. Do something with my life and wake up tomorrow and do it again. Take care.
Goodbye. 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 Enjoy yourself. Bye. Goodbye. 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 Bye. Well, goodbye. 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 Goodbye.
Fellas, does it seem like you can't get a good woman? Ladies, wonder why you can't keep a man? Then read The 4 Women That Men Desire, Volume 1, by Sirwalterj to figure out how to break the cycle. Go to Amazon.com to get your copy today.
It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?